All right. Well, on behalf of the Independence Chamber of Commerce in the City of Independence, welcome to First Friday. I'm going to take my mask off so that you can all hear me. All of our speakers are up here. We're all spaced out adequately and safely, and we're ready to start First Friday. So I appreciate you all being here. As I mentioned, this is an event that's co-sponsored by the City of Independence, and it's a free event where we're able to come together as community members and learn about things that are happening in our community, get really good, accurate information, and with the hopes that you will all leave here and go out and share the information. We're actually putting it on Facebook Live, so lots of people will be able to step on and watch it now or watch it later on, and then it will also be on the YouTube channel for the City of Independence, and we'll get a link out for that. Before we hear from our six great sponsors, our six great speakers, and don't worry, you're not going to be here till noon. Many of them are speaking in tandem, but we want to thank our sponsors, our business sponsors. The business sponsor for this morning are the ones that handed you the hand sanitizer when you came in and gave you the little goodie bag, and it's PenMax Staffing Services. They are celebrating 25 years of being in business in Independence, and I remember vividly when they opened up their business in downtown Independence. So at this time, we want to welcome PenMax Branch Manager Amanda Brock and the company's Vice President of Operations, and he is visiting Independence, Stu Stringer.
Morning. Thank you all for the opportunity for us to highlight our company this morning. We are celebrating a great milestone for our company, being in business for 25 years here in Independence. And for those of you who don't know a lot about our company, we did open operations in 1988 in Springfield, Missouri. We currently do employee recruitment and screening services for the light industrial, clerical, education, and transportation industries. We originally were founded by a lady by the name of Patty Penny. She did own the company from 1988 till 2010. In 2010, she did sell our company back to the employees in the form of an employee stock ownership plan. Currently, we are the largest staffing ESOP company and the second largest ESOP organization in the United States. So we are very proud of that. We originally opened our doors in Independence in 1995, April of 95. We came here because one of our current customers at the time, Emerson Electric, needed help staffing in the area, and so we decided to open up shop down the street, and basically the rest is history from there. We have diversified our client base, but we have been very, very happy, very blessed to be a part of this community. Great people, great companies. We hope to be here for another 25 more years to come. Also, before I forget, I do want to make a mention to Amanda Brock. She is our branch manager. For those of you who don't know her, I can't imagine that no one doesn't because she knows everybody. But she has been a true blessing to our company. It takes a very special person to be successful in our industry. Really true care for people, love for people, and you got to have that in our industry, and that's what makes her very successful, makes us successful. So thank you for that. If you guys don't know her, please get to know her. If you guys need any opportunities, staffing, increasing people in your company, or any screening services, please give her a call. You won't be disappointed. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And underneath your programs, you have some information from PenMax, so be sure and slip that out and take it with you when you leave. And also, if you'll take those programs and flip them over, I'm going to go over some things that are happening in our community. The Chamber tries to make sure that we make everyone aware of all the things that are happening in our community. And I go over some things kind of in detail because there is a listening audience that's not here, and they don't have the calendar right now. It will be published on our Facebook page and our website, but we're going to hit some highlights of some things that are happening in the community. I'm going to back up, though, and tell you about a few things that have already happened. As you may or may not know, Independence is celebrating their sesquicentennial, which is our 150th anniversary, and the museum has an exhibit that is on display right now showcasing the 150 years of independence. So please take advantage of the museum's exhibit and go by and check that out. But I want to tell you that last Saturday, kind of in conjunction with the 150th celebration, was Carrie Engel's 150th birthday celebration out on Little House on the Prairie. And it was a huge event. It was well attended. It was nice that everyone was able to adequately space out because there's lots of space out there, lots of green space, open air, and it was a really nice celebration. And so I want you to know that that is something that we can all do. You know, we're all looking for things to do. We're tired of being cooped up. We're tired of wearing masks. I get it. But we still have to do the right thing and stay safe and stay healthy. And those are things that you can do, from taking the little kids out to taking your grandparents out and everyone to enjoy Little House on the Prairie. They have an amazing gift store out there. If you've not been out, you really need to go out and check it out, because they have lots of really cool Little House on the Prairie items. So if you have family in or you're just looking for something to do, go out to Little House on the Prairie. As I was talking about our 150th celebration, we do have the shirts available. So t-shirts start at $15, the polos start at $22, and Madison will be selling those when you leave if you want to purchase one. If you want to come to the Chamber and get one, Main Street, pick one up, or Magnolia Scents by Design and pick one up, and the museum, you can grab t-shirts at those places as well. Also, I want to point out that we had the celebration downtown where we were able to recognize Ken Brown's efforts with the the City of Independence Historical Preservation Committee. Ken put in countless hours putting up the plaques in downtown Independence, or creating those plaques. He etched them, he cut them out, he polished them. There are over 90 of them downtown. And they talk about when the building was finished and what it was originally. So it's really a great piece of walking history in our downtown. And our downtown is on the National Register of Historic Places, and we have a lot of contributing buildings down there. So if you're looking for something fun to do, take a trip down memory lane and walk up and down the downtown sidewalks of Independence and check out those plaques. And also give a huge shout out to Ken Brown for his work. And also the reason why they're so black and shiny is because Scott Mills and Mike Foster at Quality Paint and Body helped Ken put the spit shine to those so that they will look amazing for years to come. I also want to let you know that this is a little history, though. You missed it. Mid-Continent Band. I want to give a shout out to Mid-Continent Band. This was their 128th season. Again, it is an amazing gift that they give to our community every Tuesday evening. They had their final performance, so unfortunately, you're not going to be able to listen to them. However, on September the 7th at 7 o'clock in the evening, you will be able to go down to the band shell and hopefully listen to the ICC band perform. They're working on planning an outdoor concert. It's not set in stone, but just remember 7/7 for next month. On the 7th at 7, it should be happening, at least we hope so. But it was a great time this summer. Tuesday evenings, they work to make it a family fun event. Many times during the songs, you would hear little kids laughing and hollering, and it just meant that there was youth in our community. So it, again, was a fun evening in the park at Riverside Park Band Shell. And I want to thank everyone who played in that band this summer. We appreciate them more than they probably know. We also want to give a shout out to the library. So they have lots of virtual activities. If you put your finger on August the 6th and slide it down to the 11th, you're going to see that there was something a few days ago for the adults, and then there's also story time for the kids. They have lots of virtual activities, so be sure and check out their Facebook page, their website, and also get signed up for open access. And so if you need more information about open access, you can go onto their website and get registered. We have flyers over on our flyer table. That means that you can get into the library when it is not fully staffed by employees. So you do need to go through the proper channels, but we do have open access, which is a huge asset to our community. So make sure and get signed up if that's something you're interested in. Tomorrow, do not forget, we always have about 20 plus vendors at Farmers Market. It's right behind Annie Mae's, so grab coffee or a muffin, scone, quiche, all of the above, and then head out to the farmer's market and enjoy everything that they have to offer. They have wines and cheeses and breads and vegetables and nuts, and then they have crafters, and they have all kinds of things. So be sure and check that out. There's also a clothing giveaway. It's not on the calendar, but New Life Baptist Church is going to be giving out free clothing, I believe between 10 and 2 possibly. There's a flyer over on the table, and that's at the open 4-H building in the park. So make sure that you take advantage of that, or let somebody know if you know of somebody that could benefit from that. Get in your swimming because the pool closes on Sunday. The aquatic center will close for the season, and you're thinking, why? It's so early. But our kids are the lifeguards, and many of them are going back to college. So staffing becomes an issue. Our pool is incredibly large. It takes a lot of people to run the pool, and so they have told me that their last day will be on Sunday. Recycling is every Wednesday from 11 to every Tuesday from 11 to 1. And you can drop off your recyclables, and on the first Saturday of the month from 8 to noon. And I say that because I know you probably all know that, but we need volunteers at recycling. We had a sorority that helped us out last month. So if you are somebody that would like to volunteer, you're connected with a civic organization or a church or a group or a family, you do have to be 18, but get with me and we coordinate all of the volunteer efforts, and I will get you signed up for that. Excuse me. The Chamber Golf Tournament is the 15th. We have maybe 2 spots open. So if you're wanting to play golf, give me a call and we'll see if we have opening for you. And I'm waiting on 2 other teams to give me the final okay. But if you're wanting to play, be sure and give us a call and we'll see if we can get you in. On the 17th, you're going to see that the K-State Research and Extension Office does a Dining with Diabetes, and that's important. Obviously, dining for diabetes, learning how to prepare healthy meals is incredibly important. But K-State Research and Extension is something that you don't want to overlook. Tap into them. They have all kinds of resources available to us, so be sure and check that out. Speaking of dining, it's important that I mentioned Annie Mae's, it's important that we support all of our businesses, our small businesses right now. We know we're in the middle of an economic and health crisis, and so I just encourage you to continue to support our small businesses, whether it's retailers or restaurants in the downtown area and the around town area. Independence is what it is because of the support of the community and the loyalty of all of our businesses to Independence. So they need us now more than ever. So I just want to say I appreciate them wearing masks. I hate wearing a mask. Who would like to wear a mask? Nobody wants to wear a mask. It's not fun. But we have to do something because, in my opinion, doing nothing doesn't feel like an option right now, especially when it means the viability of our businesses. We have to do what is helpful to keep the businesses open. We don't want an outbreak. We don't want to go backwards. We don't want to shut down and those things. So I appreciate our businesses. I appreciate our restaurants masking up and providing a place where we have consumer confidence. When we go in, we know that this is a safe place to eat, that it's a safe place to shop. And so I have a button on right here that says Step Up and Mask Up. We have them over. Grab one, put it on, grab a few, take them with you. When you see somebody wearing a mask, because we don't like to do it, tell them, thank you for putting on a mask. I appreciate it. Or tell the workers in a restaurant, we know you're hot. It's the kitchen. It's yucky, but thank you for doing this because it makes me feel comfortable coming into your place of business in your restaurant and eating. Speaking of restaurants, when we got shut down, many people didn't want to get out, but our restaurants really stepped up and said, let's do curbside. And I want to give a shout out to our Leadership Independence class. We put up the barricades out of necessity so that we could mark off some spaces so people could safely get to the front of the restaurants and the restaurant workers could quickly get out to us and drop off our food. But they were ugly because barricades are. But Leadership Independence stepped up and they took on that as their class project. They put up the beautiful signs in downtown Independence that say to-go parking so that we can continue to offer that to our community members so that they will, again, have that confidence to be able to continue to support our businesses, and we appreciate that. Speaking of Leadership Independence, there will be no Leadership Independence program this year. And you're like, what? And that is because of the pandemic and all that it's bringing. It's going to be harder to have a program now more than ever. So we decided that we were going to make lemonade out of lemons. The pandemic is the lemon, and an alumni program is going to be our lemonade. So we're taking the season off. We're not having a program, but the Leadership Board of Directors is working to have a Leadership Alumni program so that when leaders go through the program and they're not like, well, that was fun, and then it's over. They have something to look forward to, a way to stay connected, and a way to grow their leadership skills so that our community will benefit from that for years to come. So we're excited about that. August the 19th, get signed up for a couple of fun things at the college, at the Fab Lab. Check out their Facebook page for that. School is back in session at the college on the 12th, and the entire school district, 446, and private schools on the 19th. And Jim Kelly will be giving a shout out at the end about Stuff the Bus. And I just want to say, if you're looking for something to do to spread some positivity, our educators need our support right now. They are under a lot of stress and pressure. They don't know what this is going to look like. Families are under a lot of stress and pressure. They don't know what education is going to look like, all the what ifs, and none of us really know what that's going to be. So I just say, please, if you have an extra note card, write a special note, drop it at the school, give it to a teacher. If you see a teacher, an administrator, anyone connected with the school system, almost treat them like our servicemen and women and thank them for the things that they are doing to keep our kids safe and educate our kids in this this time of uncertainty. August the 20th is the blood drive. Mark that down. Karaoke at the museum on the 28th. It's a fundraiser, so mark that on your calendar. Glow-in-the-dark golf is on the 28th at the park. I want to give a shout-out, Barb's here, to the park and zoo staff. We are so fortunate to have 123 acres of beautiful park and zoo that's free to us to use. I spent nickels and quarters on trains and carousel rides this weekend with my family, and we gelled up when we rode the carousel. We spaced out when we rode the train. Everybody was masked up, and we had a really good time. So I just encourage you to utilize that. If you're, again, cooped up in the house going, I'm about to lose it, get in the car and go out to the park and take a walk and just enjoy what our community has to offer. Know that those train and carousel hours are going to change, and miniature golf after this weekend will go to fall hours. It'll be open just Saturdays and Sundays from 1 to 5. Am I right? Thank you. So be sure and still take advantage of that. You can ride the carousel for a nickel, the train for 50 cents, and play miniature golf for $2. Try to beat that for entertainment. Wrapping it up, we have movie night. So movie night will be on the 29th. We typically have it in downtown Independence because we like to have lots of activities in our downtown area. But because that is between, it's a big space, but not big enough, and we have a bigger space available out at the park. So we're going to move it out to the park. On the park oval, we're showing Wonder Park. Great Plains Federal Credit Union is going to be our movie sponsor, so they paid for the license. And Magnolia Sense by Design is offering free train and carousel rides to all the kids from about 7:15 to 8:15. The movie will start at 8:30. And again, it's in the park oval on the last Saturday of August. That's the 28th. Is that right? 29th, thank you. And then we'll have another one the last Saturday in September. I believe that's September the 26th. Before we start our speakers, I always want to talk about investing in Indy. That's a program that we have where we recognize people who have invested in our community by beautifying the outsides of their house. And I have an individual who has done a tremendous amount of work on her home. Her name is Amber Jefferson. She lives at 647 Tower Drive. She's not able to be here this morning because she has a new job. She is a nurse, and we appreciate all that she is doing in her occupation. But she's a nurse at the Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas, and that her position is located in the Early Learning Center in Coffeyville. She has done all the work on the inside and the outside of her house, along with her parents. Her parents are Ron and Sherry Jefferson, and like all good parents, I think that she might, maybe her dad and her mom might have helped her with some of her projects, so it might have been a family affair. I've been told that I think inside she only has the kitchen left to do. So folks, she's done the inside and the outside of this home. So at this time, would you look at the screen and we'll check out a before. We'll take a look at that's the before. Get a look at that. That's the after. And there's the side-by-side. She's made tremendous transformation on her home at 647 Tower Drive. So be sure, if you're looking again for something to do, drive around and go check out her house. We're going to be putting a sign in her yard and recognizing her efforts for the next month. Then we'll have another house that we'll showcase next month. So it's time to hear from our speakers. That's what you came for. So we have speakers today that are giving you time-sensitive information, critical health information, exciting information as it relates to health and recreation, and wrapping up a very powerful story about life-saving information. Would you please welcome our first two speakers, Jerry Bryant, Steve McBride, who are giving us time-sensitive information on the 2020 census. Please welcome Steve and Jerry.
Good morning. My name is Jerry Bryant. I'm with Community Missions for Improved Housing. I'm not here to talk about housing. No, I'm here to talk about the census, what little bit I know about it. I know that our city is running low on numbers, and we need to get out there and push and try to get more people to fill these census papers out because it's very vital. I don't think the people that's not filling them out realizes how important it is to fill these out. I mean, there's so many things that, like temporary housing for needy. There's national school lunch programs, Head Start, school breakfast programs, business and industry loans, which is very important right now due to the COVID, and the businesses not doing very well. They may need some backup on a loan. Child care. All that has to do with the census, the amount of numbers that you have. The areas that, the more numbers you have, the more chances you have of getting more funding. And I just feel like that we're lacking. I know there's certain areas in our city that are lower than others that's not participating. There's so many people that take advantage of these benefits that I just want to take a few minutes and ask even you guys, know somebody out there that hasn't filled one out. Just if you would, make a phone call and ask somebody, if it's elderly or whoever, have you filled your census out? Do you understand the importance of the census? Do you need help filling it out? I'll come and help you. In my case, Steve will do that. But anyway, that's what I'm here for today. Usually, I'm out in the streets every day about housing. But for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be in the streets about the census because I feel that that's a little more important at this time. Like I say, with the COVID problems we're having, man, we need all the help we can get. And if it takes 10, 15 minutes to fill this paper out, one time in 10 years, why can't we take the time to do it? You know, and there's nothing else. We do it for our kids or do it for our grandkids, whatever. 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And we could change the amount of money that comes into our area to benefit us. And like I said, the next couple of weeks, I'm usually out there talking about housing, but I'm going to tell you, if you see me coming, It's not going to be about housing. So I just want to pre-warn you that I'm on my way and I'm going to be hounding you. So that's about all I got for you. Thank you very much for your time. And please, reach out there and make a couple phone calls and just help somebody fill them out. And we get those numbers up and be proud of our area and try to do as much as we can. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jerry, for everything you do for the community. We all appreciate what you've done in your efforts to help this community grow. As you can tell, I'm the second half of the Jerry and Steve show. Some people say that we're identical twins. I think I was dropped a few more times than he was. Anyway, on a serious note, I would be willing to bet that the vast majority of you out here have already done your civic duty and you filled out your self-response for the 2020 census. But with that, I'd be willing also to bet that each one of you knows someone, I will reiterate what Jerry says, knows someone that has not. And you all understand the importance of what it means to not only our community, our state, and our country. Madison, thank you very much. Up on the screen, you have some data that I've collected, some statistics that I think you'll find interesting that apply to our state and our county in particular. It's very nice to know that Kansas, out of the 50 states and the 5 territories, ranks 14th in filling out the self-response data. This says a lot for our community. However, there are a lot that are falling behind the cracks. Kansas self-response is now at 66.8%. The national rate is 63. We should take pride in that. Montgomery County is at 58.6 with the majority responses coming through the internet. The internet's been a godsend, if you want to call it that, for helping people to respond. However, 2010, if you look at those statistics, we are far short of filling the 2010 response rate, and we need your help. As you can see, the Congressional District 2, which we are in, we're sitting at 66.2. 50% of that came from the internet. 2010, though, if you look at the rate, we're still far below what we need to be. And here's the real kicker I want to share really with everyone is, if you look at the next slide, data collection and self-response will end September 30th, 2020. This was a shock to all of us because as of just about a week ago, the government had given us till October 30th. Now they've shortened us a month. And now we're up against a deadline that is sometimes unsurmountable. We're calling upon everyone to help. The city is in the process of printing some door hangers. But we are needing volunteers and to go into the community of the areas of the community where we have the lowest self-response, to hang these door hangers as reminders with the data where they can contact either by internet or by phone. And I'm going to give you, if you will call, if you're interested, and I hope everyone is interested in helping, because it's imperative that we work hard and diligent to get our numbers accurate and up so that we have the congressional response and receive the funding we are in dire needs of. If you will call Lydia at the city at 332-2506, and she can put you on a list so that when these are in, we can all have a concerted effort and go out and hopefully attract the people that have not responded. A lot of people don't have internet in these areas. They maybe don't even watch TV. But they will respond sometimes in person or with something given to them. So we encourage you to please help us with that. Just a few statistics. Jerry, I appreciate him because he shares from the heart, and it's real and genuine. I'm the second half because I like statistics. And so I'm sharing a few statistics with you. The importance of collecting this data is that the census is a snapshot of our nation, of who we are, where we live, and much more. It will also determine our congressional representation, which will filter hundreds of billions of dollars throughout the country. We want to be a part of that because it's also going to add to us. It's going to provide for us health care, infrastructure, schools, education, programs for the senior citizens, programs for our youth. This money is definitely needed. If there was ever a time we needed more funding, now's the time. And so we encourage you all to share this information. It's easy to get online, find this information that you can share with one another, share with people. So, and we would encourage that again. Although it is mandatory that all citizens are counted for in this country, by law it's mandatory, still there's a lot of fear about how is my information going to be shared? Is somebody going to get a hold of my information that I don't want to have? Well, by law, I will assure you, by law, the Census Bureau cannot share this information with any government agency. These are statistics only. Your information is private and will be private for up to 70 years. So you don't have to worry you don't have to be afraid of what information you share. But it's imperative that everyone in your household is counted for, because that means that much more in revenue coming into our community. So don't be afraid. Don't be lazy. If you haven't filled it out, fill it out. It's only 10, 15 minutes. If you're like Jerry, it only takes 5 minutes. He's a whiz at this kind of stuff. So I would encourage all of you to help us when the door hangers come in, to help us go out throughout the community, hang these on doors, encourage people to fill out that data so that we might have a future. Remember, the figures that we collect today will last us, we'll be stuck with for 10 years. Right now, we're below 2010's percentage of goal. So let's get out. We got a lot of great people here. They're very proactive, and I believe that you can also help us in this. So please contact Lydia at the city when this helps, and this will be a big push. So I thank you very much for everything. I know it's unprecedented times. There's a lot of other things on our mind other than the census, but this is a 10-year thing. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Steve and Jerry. And now would you please welcome our Director of Safety and the one who coordinates all of our COVID calls on a has-been daily basis, now weekly basis, David Cowan, who's going to give us a COVID-19 update.
Thank you, Lisa. Just a second here, we'll get the slides up. While that's coming up, I wanted to speak to you today more on a scientific level and not a political level, because a lot of things are very politicized right now. We have an election going on. So I just want to give you some true science behind COVID-19, what's going on, and why we as the community emergency group are urging you to wear a mask and follow the guidelines by the CDC. The first thing I want to point out is I hope everybody realizes that viruses are the #1 threat to mankind. It isn't a nuclear war from Russia or China. Viruses are our #1 threat. They have been around since mankind. There are a quadrillion different types of viruses out there, but then there are those viruses that are specific to humankind. Viruses can attack humans, they can attack plants and animals, and literally can destroy mankind if left unchecked. An example of that is the Black Death, which killed 200 million people. Do you realize the population of the United States is 380 million? So basically, almost wiping out the total population of the United States is what that virus did. That's how dangerous a virus can be. And whether you agree with our president or not, when he shut China down and some of the things he did, the reason they do those things is, Dr. Ann Hogsett doesn't have a medicine in the cabinet she can go run and grab when you catch a virus. There isn't a medication that's going to kill a virus. Yes, there's antiviral medicine, which help slow a virus. They help to, if it can work, stop a virus. But there is no medicine out there that stops a virus. There are techniques over time that they have developed. Some viruses have developed into vaccines that help stop a virus. So this is what I'm going to kind of talk about today, the science of what's going on. I urge you to please listen and take the politics out of it and think about what's going on. Okay. Number one thing is a virus is a non-living organism. And you think, well, what threat is that to me? Literally, we could have, Brian gave me some cashews, COVID-19 virus right there, and it would have literally no threat to you at all. Absolutely. They're on the table. Has absolutely no threat to you at all unless it is able to get into your body. So, and how does it do that? How does a virus get from that state, a non-living organism that is the biggest threat to human mankind if it goes unchecked or takes off, get into us? Well, that happens, you can go ahead and turn, several different ways. The current COVID-19 is mainly transmitting respiratory. And again, back when they shut down the country, scientists have been working around the clock to figure out a lot of different things because they were worried, is the mosquitoes going to carry it? Because that is a possible way a virus can be transmitted. So they were worried about that. Mosquitoes, insect bite. They were going through all this stuff and working around the clock to figure out how the virus was transmitting, how they can control it. And, you had the don't wear a mask, wear a mask. You also had that part where they were trying to rebuild the stocks so us in healthcare had the masks to wear. But we're at a point now, we know the primary threat of COVID-19 is a respiratory virus. Lisa has spaced us out 6 feet apart up here. And the primary reason for that is, as I speak right here, you cannot see it, but there's moisture coming out with each word that I say. And as that comes out, if I had COVID-19, that virus is becoming airborne out into the air. They know that as long as it's not a cough or a sneeze, but a normal conversation between me and Lisa right here in a 6-foot distance, the likelihood of spreading it to Lisa is minimal. However, I get within that distance, I am now a threat to Lisa. And you say, how do you know that? Again, over the last 3 to 4 months, they've been able to study some different things. I believe it was Jeff City, Missouri. They had 2 beauticians. Both of them ended up being COVID-19 positive. They were trying to save their business, and Missouri allowed them to open up, but under very, very strict guidelines. Every lady that came in had to have a mask on, and the beauticians had to have a mask on at the same time. Over 120 ladies had their hair done in that 2-week period. Nobody contracted COVID-19, even though both beauticians were positive for COVID-19. They had a gentleman that was flying overseas 12 hours on an airplane. Does everybody realize an airplane is probably the worst place you can ever be? That is a confined space, especially if you're on an airline for very long. Anything that anybody has on that airline is going to be spread throughout the airplane. It's one of the most contagious places that you can be. Gentleman was COVID-19. Everybody had a mask on. Nobody contracted COVID-19. I can tell you our EMS service has responded to and transported about 145 presumptive positive and positive COVID-19 patients since March of this year. We have a mandatory mask policy, and what that means is our guys have to wear a face covering on every call and every patient contact. If you exhibit signs and symptoms, and our 911 center, which will be asking you all these questions as the ambulance is coming, they give us a code. We put on the N95 mask and the gowns if you show any signs. I can tell you from March to this date, not one of our employees has contracted COVID-19. I know of at least 15 that were COVID-19 positive that have been in the back of our ambulance. I know, like I said, up to 145 total calls that are COVID-19 related. Masks work. They help slow the spread of the virus. COVID-19 is a silent killer. And what do you mean by a silent killer? The biggest threat of COVID-19 is when you become infected. The way a virus works is it enters your body. This is primarily an airborne way that you get it. COVID-19 is it likes the lung cells. So that's why initially a lot of the signs and symptoms were the cough and the fever. So it goes into your lungs. The way a virus works, because as I said, it's just a dead organism out here. It has to, with a protein molecule on the virus, it goes into your body and it begins searching for a cell. It's kind of like a lock and a key. And that virus is going around and it finds that cell that key, that protein hits and unlocks. And it unlocks that cell and it literally goes inside and starts using that cell's internal organs to replicate itself. And it begins replicating itself hundreds and hundreds of times. And each cell that replicates is replicating hundreds and hundreds of times. It's kind of the silent killer because COVID is very, 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 very secretive. And our body doesn't detect it right away. And most of the people go from 2 to 5 days in a contagious state, feeling perfectly fine. No symptoms, feel healthy, feel great, just normal. You would never know that they are sick. That creates for us, for Rick Whitson and Carolyn, for us at the city, a potential for a wildfire. Because once you show signs and symptoms, and that's why they have the tracing people out there, we got to go back 2 to 5 days and start figuring out who you've been in contact. Because the only way you can control the virus is you isolate it. And what becomes a big threat to the United States, and I'm a big believer that we need to continue to open up and continue to do things, we just have to do them safely, is if that wildfire gets out of control, how do you stop it? And there could become a day, and Kelly and I often talk about this often, where the wildfire gets out of total control to where you may have to literally shut things down for 5 to 10 days to stop the spread. That's how bad a virus can take off and get out of control and force us to do things to try to control it. So that's the scary part about COVID-19. 2 to 5 days. Initially, those symptoms were 100.4 temperature, the cough, extreme fatigue were a lot of the symptoms. COVID-19 has mutated in the last couple of months, not in a good way. It's more contagious. But now a lot of the signs and symptoms we're seeing are people with abdominal pain, nausea and vomiting, diarrhea. A lot of them are afebrile when we're seeing them, but they're popping COVID-19 positive. So the disease has changed some, but it's still moving as rapidly as what it was. We are very blessed here in Independence. We've only had a few cases in Independence. We've done a very good job in Independence, but we have to continue to be very on top of our game and watch what we're doing to control that. Next slide. So that's why I'm here today, to encourage you. Please listen to the science. As Lisa said, it's unpleasant to wear a mask. We at the city require all of our employees to wear a face covering. We had a COVID-19 incident in the city. We were blessed that we're in the facility that we were in, because there is no doubt in my mind that the way the current City Hall hospital is set up, it has such a high volume of air exchange because of a hospital type of environment, is the only reason, one of the only reasons that we contained it to the one person. Even though we ended up having to isolate one department, and even though typically they were 6 feet apart in the area that they were in, there is no doubt in my mind, because they were close together, they communicated, they worked, that air exchange helped. 6 foot distance. If you can maintain that 6 foot distance, social distance, you and your family group, you don't have to wear a face covering. But if people are going to come into your space, into that 6 foot that you do not know, they're not a part of your family group, then you need to take precautions and just wear a simple face covering. There are all sorts out there. People say a mask will cause illness, cause you to get pneumonia and different things like that. That is unproven. I mean, our hospital, you think about it, our hospital physicians, surgeons, nurses that work in ORs wear masks 5 and 7 days a week, 8 to 12 hours a day, and they have done for years. And, there is no science behind a mask makes you sick. So what does the future hold? We hear a lot that they're working on a vaccine. If you truly look at the science of what is going on, it's probably, if they are able to develop it, it's going to be a vaccine similar to the flu vaccine. It's not going to be a one shot like the smallpox. COVID, again, is very, very tricky. It continues to mutate. A virus's job is just like you and me. He wants to live. We all want to live. He is constantly working to live. So it's probably going to be more like a vaccine. You'll have maybe 12 to 18 months of some protection with it, and then it probably would have to be repeated. With any vaccine, how effective it is, what are the long-term effects, all of those things will only come out over time as the vaccine is put out. What do we do in the meantime? We're probably in this for the long haul until there's only 2 ways that you control a virus. And the way they kind of stopped Ebola and the MERS virus is they contained it. They literally stopped them in the tracks of where it was at, and they allowed the virus to pretty much kill itself out. Once a virus is pandemic and throughout, we continue through the same processes that we're doing. There are antiviral drugs out there, but understand that antiviral drugs, again, are not like an antibiotic that kill the virus. Antivirals only work to try to stop it from replicating itself and trying to help it boost the immune system to attack the virus. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the mental health aspect. This is a big concern to us in the health field, industry, and it's coming on very quickly. We are seeing it here in Independence already. Our calls, both for fire EMS, police, domestic assaults, suicide, psychiatric emergencies are all increasing each and every day. And it's stressful. Now, you may sit there and think it's not stressful, but I guarantee you, if you have a child, you're worried about that child going back to school. If you have older parents, you're worried about your older parents, or you yourself may have underlying diseases, diabetes, hypertension, cardiac, those different things that can be a detriment if you catch COVID-19. There are jobs throughout, people unemployed, all sorts of different things that are creating stresses in the environment. So we're encouraging people to cope with the situation. Know what to do if you are sick or concerned of COVID-19. Know where to get your treatment. Please, if you believe you are sick, we encourage people to stay home. We encourage people to call their physicians. Don't just show up at clinics. Don't just show up at ERs unless you are critically ill. Read up, know how to treat yourself, how to take care of yourself. Take care of your emotional health. Take breaks. Read. Listen to the radio. Stay up to date. Repeatedly listening to the news about this, though, can be very upsetting to some. So they need a different break. Listen to the music or do something different. Take care of your body. It's very, very important. Think about health. And we have a very big push in the city of Independence right now for health. So I encourage you to stay healthy, walk, jog. We're going to have, I believe Marcy's going to talk a little bit. All those health aspects we encourage. Do those things. The last thing I want to say is I want to bring to attention some very important people. Go to our last slide, and then I'll be quiet. Number one, I want to bring attention to our interim city manager, Kelly Passeur, who's been in charge of the city now for over a year. Her support, both for this committee, what she's done in the city, and what she continues to do on a daily basis has been great. And what she continues to do, I appreciate everything that she's doing in her support. But I want to bring attention to, and I often say this every time I speak, Lisa Wilson, April Nutt, Tabitha, Lacey, Joanne, and Tricia Perdun. These people are all a part of my community emergency group. And the reason I'm highlighting these ladies is at the start of this pandemic, these ladies, I bet they went through 10 pair of shoes. They have been out working with the businesses. They're constantly in contact with them. They're working with the food, the Methodist Church, the food bank. They are my wheels on the ground. They're constantly keeping me up to date on information. They're constantly working for this community. What they do on a day-to-day basis, you have no idea, not only for COVID, but just for the benefit of Independence is so fabulous, they need a round of applause. I want to mention Mr. Kelly, who's been a vital part of Jim Kelly, of our group that keeps us up to date and helps us with all of the questions. Becky Mitchell, the leadership of the City of Independence that Kelly oversees. Barb Burskins has had a tremendous task of getting our park open, which is a tremendous part of mental health and Independence. Jerry Harrison has tremendous pressures, not only helping me in the COVID, but just dealing with what's happening in the defund police department, which I will say I'm totally against, has done a tremendous job, and I am so proud that we brought Jerry to this community and what he has done for our police department. Sean Wallace, what he does with me for the fire EMS, 145 patients, none of our people are sick. Rick Lee at Montgomery County and Carolyn, you do not realize the pressure that they're under and the pushback they get as they try to take care of COVID-19 in Montgomery County. Thank you.
One person that we forgot to clap for is David Cowan. He puts in countless hours for our city, stays up to date, keeps us all well informed, and exhibits leadership that is immeasurable. So thank you very much. Let's give him a round of applause. I don't think he sleeps, actually. Now we're going to end on some high notes. Done talking about these stinky masks we have to wear and COVID-19 and all that that's bringing. I'm finished with that. So we got to do what we have to do to make sure that we don't have to keep talking about that. But we have some really positive health information to be spoken about today. So our Montgomery County Wellness Coalition coordinator, my good friend Marcy Roberts from Coffeyville, is here. And she's going to be talking about some really, really good news. So please welcome Marcy to the podium.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you all for having me here today. As Lisa said, I am the Montgomery County Wellness Coalition coordinator. I'm also the coordinator for 2 grants. One of those is the Chronic Disease Risk Reduction Grant, and my newer one that I get to be a part of is called the Blue Cross Blue Shield Pathways Grant. This is really an exciting thing for our county. We partnered with Grow Labette to apply for this grant. We had worked together on a few health initiatives previously this year and with our wellness coalitions, and we just realized there are so many health barriers and health problems that we have that we share, that it just made sense that we would work together to bring this to our area. It's a 4-year grant. It has 2 parts. There's a $200,000 coordination grant. That's $50,000 a year to pay for a coordinator, all the expenses to roll out the grant, and that is divided between 2 counties. And then there's the good part is this $300,000 that's going to be available to communities. They're eligible to apply for the funding for non-competitive grants as they meet the goals of our initiatives in the grant. So a huge investment of up to $500,000 for our area. So that's pretty substantial. So why Montgomery County? Why should they, look at our area? Well, this is kind of some bad news, but I mean, we got to talk about health statistics. That's the good news. But it's the 3-4-80 rule is the one I like to use. There are 3 risky behaviors, and I'm sure you all can figure out what they are. It's tobacco use, it's physical inactivity, and poor nutrition that contribute to 4 major chronic diseases, which are heart disease, lung disease, type 2 diabetes, and some cancers. So those altogether contribute to 80% of the deaths in the United States and 86% of healthcare costs in the United States. So that's one of the biggest issues in our nation. So drilling it down, if you'll look at this map, according to the county health rankings and roadmaps, Montgomery County is ranked 101 out of 104 counties for health outcomes, which is length of life and quality of life. It means that many of our citizens are reporting that, they die before the age of 75, according to this study. The other piece of that is quality of life, is how many days per month people are reporting healthy days where they feel well and feel good. And so we reported a high amount of non-healthy days. So I also want you to note down in the corner, if you'll notice that the lightest spots are the healthiest spots. The darker areas are the lowest rankings. So it's not only Montgomery County, this is a regional issue for our area. So that's something that the next slide will kind of maybe give you a little boost, because the pathways is really the little stars in our area are all the counties surrounding us that receive pathways grants. So to me, Blue Cross Blue Shield is recognizing this. They're saying, hey, we see an issue in this area, and we want to recognize it and get funding down there. And they're also recognizing the work we've already begun, the good things we've begun doing in our area too. So it just made sense that we would join together and work towards a healthier region. Go ahead. So how do we do this? How do we roll this out? How do we attack this big beast? I mean, because it's a lot, you know? Well, Pathways is designed to take a holistic, community-wide approach to improving health outcomes. They're aligned with the Kaiser Family Foundation social determinants of health, which are basically the way we live, work, and play. It's how do we affect those people where they live, where they work, where they play. It's more than just going to the doctor and getting a prescription, going in and saying, okay, I need something for this, I need something for that. We've got to begin to change our health behaviors, right? So this is the community-wide approach. There's a community and social pathway, a neighborhood and environment pathway, education, healthcare, economic stability, and food. So the coalition will be able to select a package or group of packages to, from each pathway to work on over the next 4 years. Over the next 6 months, we'll develop it's a planning stage. We just got awarded or notified in July, and the funding begins in August. And so we'll begin a 6-month planning period to get an action team together, make a plan, decide how we're going to monitor progress, all those fun things, all those detailed things, but all good things. So go ahead. So one example of neighborhoods would be to improve trails, walkways, bike paths. This is an example of a Rails to Trails effort that partial funding was given, and it's partially finished, but the goal is to hopefully get funding to complete the path. And I'm sure there are things in your community that are the same types of ideas that we just want to be able to affect our area in the built environment. Go ahead. Another area would be to increase access to healthy foods. I don't know if everyone knows, but Caney, Kansas has been without a grocery store for the last 10 years. They're considered to be living in a food desert. This is a major issue for their community. So that's one avenue that could be taken. The photo on the right of that last slide is another idea that was brought up, and that is getting healthy foods to students in the dorms. They have the cafeteria, but what about those downtime hours? Maybe they don't have transportation to get somewhere to go to the grocery store to get the food. There's a lot of areas where we can affect education through food, and I'll show you on the next slide too how a lot of the pathways cross over on each other. Go ahead. So this is an example of community gardens. Your photo on the left, your left, is a neighborhood lot where a house was that's been revitalized and made beautiful. I mean, it's a place where people can gather. They can come to work together, to plant. It's free. It could be a place where kids can come and learn about vegetables, learn about growing. It could be a source for, healthy foods. It could be a source to bring healthy foods into your farmer's market. There are so many different ways that things can cross over and make changes. Go ahead. The other idea is in the workplace wellness. It just makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, we're in the workplace 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Doesn't it just make sense to reach people where they're at and help them make a healthy choice where they're at? Evidence has shown there are benefits to the employer, there's benefits to the employees. You're going to see increased productivity. You're going to see decrease in costs for insurance. Employees are going to see increased stamina and less injury and illness. So it just makes sense to reach people where they're at in the workplace. Some of the other health behaviors that are a big challenge in Southeast Kansas, that we report a higher smoking and obesity rate than other areas in the state. One of the ways we could do that is to improve our smoking policies. And I want to congratulate Independence and your city commission on doing just that this past month, passing a tobacco-free parks policy. That was awesome. It also makes all 4 of our major cities in Montgomery County tobacco-free parks and recreation areas. So that's just awesome. And so when you see your city commissioners, please thank them for that, because it's not an easy thing to do sometimes. It's not an easy decision to make. And that's just one step in saying, you know, this is what we believe in. We value health, and this is important. So, go ahead. So what do we aim to achieve? We want to increase awareness and community engagement in leading the healthy lifestyles. We want to make the healthy choice the default choice. You know, we want to make it easy. We want to make it easy to be healthy. Increase consumption and access to healthy foods. Increase access to and use of safe environments to exercise. And support commercial tobacco-free living. We also want to improve the quality of life in participating communities and keep it going for generations to come. I mean, that's the ideal goal, right? You know, and so how can you help? How can you be a part of that? Well, you could join the coalition. We'd love to have you be a part of that and be a part of that voice. Get on our email list. We send out information all the time about, you know, getting involved and what's going on. Be a contact for your organization or community. A great contact for you here in Independence is Rita or Lonnie, or Lisa, of course. Lisa's a great contact for everything. So, and just support the efforts of the coalition. You know, we ask our city commissioners and our county commissioners to support that effort and to be, you know, proactive in supporting health. So, I have left some business cards on the table over here, and you can always contact Lisa as well for my email information. Thank you.
Thank you. We're excited to see what all comes, you know, transpires from the Pathways Grant, and congratulations to Marcy and her organization, and thank you, Rita, to Blue Cross Blue Shield. I need everybody to take your chairs and face them straight forward and get really comfy, because this is going to be an impactful message you're about to hear. This is one that you will never forget. So at this time, would you please welcome Dan and Tammy Roth to the podium to talk about their life-saving story and how CPR can save a life.
Thank you, Lisa. Lisa's been a valuable tool to us this summer. She's connected to so many people in our community, and she's just a woman who's willing to give her time and support people like us that really don't know what we're doing but want to make an impact on our community. So thank you, Lisa, for everything. Over the summer, Dan and I have had the opportunity to speak at several civic organizations, and we've talked to some individuals here in town, some of them of which have been impacted by what we're here to speak about. These presentations have centered around the topic of CPR awareness and education and the 13 minutes that changed my life forever. today I'm going to share with you just briefly about Dan and I's story. You may have read about us in the newspaper or been at one of our presentations. It started on January the 15th. And so I'm going to give this little brief description of what happened to us, and then we're going to add on at the process that we've made on our journey of what we want to truly accomplish as a result of our experience. So on January the 15th, at about midnight, I was asleep when suddenly I heard Dan make a very strange noise. And that shocked me and brought me back to the awake state to realize that he was in a bad situation. And I needed to, it was up to me, and it was terrifying. And I called 911. Dan was doing what they call agonal breathing. He was not breathing to get oxygen moving through his body. He turned purple and then white, just terrible color. And I knew that things were bad. And so I quickly called 911 and reached the dispatcher, who began asking questions and gathering information. And as I was making that phone call, I began CPR. I knew from my CPR training that this was a lifesaver. And I also knew that I couldn't do CPR in the bed with Dan, that my training had taught me he had to be on a solid surface. And so I hollered for our son to come to the bedroom and help me get Dan to the floor, where we began CPR, chest compressions. While talking to 911, there were lots of things that were a concern to me, such as we live 10 miles outside of town, and I knew that we needed a quick response. At this time, things were not looking good at all. People frequently get lost when they follow GPS coming to our home, so that I felt like many things fighting against us during that time. Sudden cardiac arrest is a leading cause of death in the United States. If it is not in the presence of a healthcare facility, the survival rate is somewhere around 12%. So we already started. I didn't know this at the time, but we already had things kind of going against us. And so if that person is lucky enough to have someone nearby that can administer CPR, the survival rate doubles and triples. Luckily, my school district provided CPR training this last fall, and so that training was fresh on my mind. I knew that there were steps that had to take place in order for Dan to receive quality CPR. In 4 to 6 minutes after a person stops breathing, brain damage begins. After that, within 10 to 16 minutes, that person becomes clinically dead. I was on 911 for 13 minutes. It is by a miracle that Dan is with me today. We are here today to ask for support of our community, and then also to let you know that we are going to begin giving CPR classes at a nominal cost, so that we can bring this to awareness to our community, so that we can give education, and if you need a certification card, we can provide that as well. Dan was able to be shocked into a heart rhythm when EMS arrived at our home. I was never so happy to see an ambulance in all my life, and they quickly came in, gave him a shock, and was able to restore a normal heartbeat, transferred him to Labette Health, what a blessing that facility was, and then on to Freeman and Joplin, where he received a pacemaker and defibrillator that now regulates his heart in the event that he would have another episode. This is our story. This story changed our lives. Could have ended much differently. I am so thankful for the training that I was able to have, which gave me the skills I needed. There are others in our community who have a very similar story. Dan had VFib, ventricular defibrillation. I've talked to Brad Oakes, and some of you know that Brad Oakes had a serious heart attack and almost didn't make it, had his son perform CPR on him. And I've also talked to, these people have given me permission to use their story. I've also talked to Allison Andrews and her husband James, who about 3 years ago, he had a sudden cardiac arrest in his home, in their home, and Allison provided CPR in order to save his life before EMS could arrive. So I'm using some examples from our community to let you know that it's, when I sat in my class, I didn't expect this to happen. How can you tell? But I did have the training, which provided me the skills that I needed to get started that day. Dan and I have started an organization called Indy Saves. We've had wonderful support from places that we've gone and talked to. We want to thank the Rotary, the Lions, the Optimists, Remediation Services, and several individuals in our community as we began talking about CPR awareness and education and being able to provide certification. These places have welcomed us to their meetings and allowed us to present, and also financially offered help to get us started. Dan and I have attended CPR instructors training, a course in Oklahoma City 2 weeks ago, and it was a 2-day class where we learned how to not perform CPR, but how to teach that to our community members. So now it is our intent to come back into our community and provide that education awareness and certification to people in our own hometown. We're willing to start offering these classes as soon as we get a couple more pieces of equipment. We want to be able to offer that to small groups of about, say, 12 to 15 people. We can do smaller groups. We are working to secure a little bit more funding to be able to get the equipment that we need to hold these classes. We had a goal when we started of $2,500, and we're close. We're about halfway on our journey to get there. We can get started with less than that, but we also know that there are some things that we need to purchase to make our CPR training the best that it can be. And so I'm going to have Dan talk just briefly about the training that we went to so that you'll know what the money that we're getting is going to go to. We're funded under the Community Foundation for Independence, and so any support, that financial support that we receive, goes through that. It can be dropped off. There's a donation jar over there that Lisa set out for us. It can be dropped off at Edward Jones at 308 North Penn, and they're collecting funds for us there as well, or you can mail it to the Community Foundation for Independence. So I'm going to ask Dan to speak about our training.
So first of all, thank you. You did a better job by keeping it together than probably me. So during our training for CPR instructor school, the mannequins that we trained on were electronically monitored, which means they had a series of lights on the mannequin that gave us feedback on, is the depth of our compressions correct? Is the speed of our compressions correct? That feedback increased the correct technique very quickly compared to any CPR training we've done in the past. If anybody's ever done CPR training and your mannequin just had a clicker, all you know is you're trying to make the clicker. But how do you know if you're going at the right speed? Are you going too fast or too slow? And speed is really important. If you do compressions too fast, the heart does not fill with enough blood to recirculate. If you do compressions too slow, you don't get enough blood circulated. If you do compressions too shallow, you don't get enough blood circulated. if once a person has gone into cardiac arrest and their blood pressure goes to 0, you have to do about 10 compressions to build up enough blood pressure just to start getting blood to the brain. So proper technique is really important. The class we attended also had infant CPR mannequins, and those were also monitored. So, if you ever, and you go, why would an infant have to have CPR? Well, one of the leading causes of having cardiac arrest is choking. When you choke and you don't have enough oxygen, you can lead into secondary cardiac arrest. So just don't think that this is for old people like me. It's for all ages. Also, since AED devices are appearing in civic buildings and schools and churches, proper use of AEDs is important, so we're going to include that in our training as well. We think that we can offer classes at a very low cost. There are consumables each time you do this. There are books that we have that are reusable but wear out, so about $5 a person will cover all the disinfecting and the consumables and the like, and all that will go back into the foundation and be used to buy more supplies. And our goal really is to be self-sustaining. We want to have enough money coming back in so we can keep replenishing and refurbishing our equipment and our educational materials and our disinfecting materials as we go. And so what we're looking for is just a kickstart to get started. We also hope that, this is a pretty big task we're taking. As instructors, we're allowed to teach as a maximum of 12 people per instructor and 3 students per mannequin. But when the need is large, there may be other people that want to be CPR volunteer instructors as well. So maybe as this grows, this is just not our mission. This is our mission to educate. Go get CPR training. Doesn't have to be from us. Get it from anybody. CPR saved my life. It is learning CPR is pretty much a selfless act because it's not going to be for yourself. All the stories about my event are, to me, stories. I was not conscious for any of it. 2 days later, I woke up in Joplin. So it was, but because of CPR, I stand here today. And I had a chip recorder in my chest. We know my heart was in ventricular fibrillation for 17 minutes, of which CPR was administered for 13 minutes. And I have no apparent loss of faculties or physical abilities, and anybody who'd go through that would be most likely dead. So thank you for the time. If you feel motivated, there's a donation jar, or you can do tax-deductible donations to the Independence Community Foundation. Thank you.
I told you that was going to be good. Oh, wow. So that was your story. I've heard it 3 times, and it's so incredibly powerful, and I appreciate both of you. I know that has to be a hard story for you to tell, Tammy, and I'm sure it's a hard story for you to hear, Dan, and we're so happy that a miracle happened that night and that you're still with us and that Tammy was afforded that training that saved your life. And we're excited about the fact that they are championing an effort so that we can all receive CPR training for no cost or a very low cost through donations. So feel free to give when you leave here today. As always, I want to thank our speakers. we need to fill out that census. So money's coming into our communities so we can fund our EMS that can show up and take over when there are times of crisis. We're excited about Marcy's Pathways Grant through Blue Cross Blue Shield and the money that we're putting back into our community to expand our health. And I appreciate David slipped out, his leadership and his guidance as we navigate through this pandemic. So I want to thank them for their time. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank PenMac and congratulate you for 25 great years in independence. We appreciate your sponsorship. Without you guys, we would just be sitting here with no coffee and no donut, no muffins and no fruit. Our next First Friday is September the 4th, and we have, real quick, we have 4 shout-outs. And these are important shout-outs. They know who they are, and they're going to get in line, and we're going to hit it hard and fast. So with 30 seconds, that means you have 2 minutes. So hang tight, 2 minutes. Come on up, and we will give them their shout-outs, and then we will wrap it up. So go ahead, Gavin.
Hello, good morning. Whoa, loud.
You're good.
Gavin Webster with YPI, Young Professionals of Independence. We are hosting our annual night golf tournament on August 28th. It's on your calendar. Registration is open now, and the deadline to register is the 21st. We will start that evening at 6 o'clock with registration there, and then start the night golf at 8 that night. We've had a great turnout the past couple of years. We've had quick sign up too, and it's open to the community, not just young professionals. We know we're all young at heart, so please come out and join us that evening.
I am Dr. Grant Webster. I will be assuming Dr. Kelly's dental practice over on Main Street in downtown. We will be starting some things going up. He'll be with me for a little bit, working together, so I'm going to be learning some things from him, learning how to treat my patients the way he's always treated them and give them some very good care, the same care that he's given his patients over the last 33 years. Starting August 19th, the practice will become Grant M. Webster, DMD. If you haven't met me before, please come up and talk to me, introduce yourself. Don't worry, you won't be the first person to come up to me with your mouth open with a question about your teeth, I promise you, okay? So thank you for having me, and good to meet anybody here, okay?
I'll get to know you a little more, Grant. I always get your UPS deliveries. I'm 109 East, you're 109 West. They always stop by. Yes, there you go. So, good morning. I'm Tabitha with Independence Main Street, and I am here this morning to give you some good news. We applied for a grant from Union Pacific, as you know, and we received it. And then with the fundraising efforts from our Indy United shirts, today we are kicking off our receipt program, Indy Gives Back. So we have $5,000 to give out. So your receipts have to be dated August 7th, which is today. We will give you $10 in Main Street gift certificates for every $50 you spend at a Main Street member retail or restaurant. I will make that list available on our website and our Facebook page. So just want to let you know, starting today. And when you drop those off at the Main Street office, I will not be giving those to you right then and there because there's a process we go through, but you will get your gift certificates will be available by the end of the month. So get out there and shop local.
Thank you.
Well, I will close it down hopefully in less than 30 seconds. On Stuff the Bus, this is year number 14, our biggest request year. Yesterday, I was about $3,200 in collected towards a $7,200 expense. Just last evening and this morning, I'm now about $2,200 towards it. So $2,200 to go. Help hundreds of kids in school with school supplies, and it also runs through Community Foundation for Independence, so it is a tax-deductible contribution. And you can drop that at Community National Bank if you want to provide either the main bank or the drive-in, or send it care of Post Office Box 687 in Independence.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. 14 years, did you say? Wow. Well, Thank you very much, and thank you for always spearheading that. 14 years, that's amazing. Okay, so we are finished. It is time to start our weekend, but you got to go to work first. Remember to take those community calendars with you. If you're watching this on Facebook Live or YouTube, you can check out our Facebook page and our website. We'll have the calendar up on that as well this afternoon. Indy 150 shirts are available, and please feel free to donate to Indy Saves on behalf of Dan and Tammy Roth. Thank you for all for coming. Have a great weekend.